Pauline, I'm going to ask you again. What is your relationship to John Barrett? I think you know why I'm asking. Because according to the semen and vaginal contributions we found on this underwear, you and Mr. Barrett were very intimate. At least on one occasion.
It's true. I love John. We've been together for some time now. I met John not long after his parents passed away. I probably fell in love first. I think he was more interested in being distracted. You see, before I was a nurse, I was a dancer. A stripper, actually. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's not exactly something I'm ashamed of either. It paid my way through nursing school. I'd always dreamed of being a nurse. And it brought me to John. But I never quite had enough confidence, or I don't know. Maybe I just didn't have enough experience to pass my certification tests. John was the only one who ever believed in me. He's the most sensitive, caring man I've ever known.
Pauline, you've been telling us this whole time that you're a registered nurse.
Yeah, well, for all practical purposes, I am. It's just that I don't actually have this certification yet, and I didn't want to get John into trouble for having hired me. Look, I swear to God, that's the only reason I tried to hide our relationship from you. Look, all my life, all I've ever wanted to do is be a nurse and help people. I couldn't bear the thought of being barred from the profession for good because of this.
As Mary's nurse, you definitely had what we like to refer to as opportunity. You following me? Okay, now since you and John had a little thing going on, and he stood to inherit the family fortune if and when Mary died, well, that gives both of you motive. What really complicates things is that you've told us two different stories.
I tell you what, Miss Lou. We're all reasonable people. We know you and John are in this thing together. That's why we're prepared to offer you a deal. Testify against Mr. Barrett, and we'll make sure that you do the bare minimum of jail time. What do you say?
No, please, I'm innocent. You've got to talk to John. He'll tell you. We were together all night. I swear to you.
You lied to us, Pauline. Now it's kind of hard just to take you at your word. And since John's not talking, we're really going to need your help to find something to back up your story.
If John knows what's going to happen to me, he'll talk to you. I know he will. He's a very complicated man. Before her accident, Mary gave John a gift. It's a goofy little thing. This little finger puppet. It was like this private joke between the two of them. But then when Mary got hurt, that stupid puppet began to mean the world to John. He would hold it at her bedside and try to make her laugh with it. But last week, the puppet got lost somehow. I'd been cleaning up and I must have misplaced it, but John went ballistic. I mean, you'd have thought I'd run over his dog. Anyway, day before yesterday, I found the damn puppet. I was thrilled. I went down to the lake, down by where they keep the boat, and I was gonna surprise John with it, but before I could say anything, he started screaming at me. And that's when I threw that stupid puppet away. For good. Well, not exactly for good. I tried throwing the damn thing in the lake, but instead I ended up tossing it into the family's boat. Okay, this is the crazy part, and the whole reason I'm telling you this. I think if John gets that puppet back, then he might be able to open up to you guys. He's missing Mary so much. He just needs to have a piece of her back, and then he'll open up and tell you everything you need to know. I'm sure of it.
That's all for now. Thank you. Okay, here's that little puppet Pauline was talking about. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's just really hard to believe this would mean so much to Mary's brother. Looks like John's come out of hiding.
Oh, God. Where did you get this?
We understand it has a lot of sentimental value for you.
It does. It may seem silly to you, but it means a lot to me. Thanks. This finger puppet, this dumb, ugly little finger puppet, is proof I killed my sister. She gave it to me just before the accident. And then afterwards, you know, I'd put it on her finger. She'd make me laugh. It disappeared a week ago, right after I made Mary promise me she'd keep living. For me. Because I could tell, in her eyes, she wanted to give up. She was tired. I couldn't let her go. When I thought I'd lost this puppet, it suddenly occurred to me that instead of convincing Mary to stay with me, I'd actually pushed her into leaving. I killed her. Someone else may have helped her, carry it out, but it's really my fault.
John, I don't understand something, and I don't mean to be insensitive, but how would you know what Mary was thinking? She couldn't speak. She could hardly move. How were you communicating with her?
We both knew Morse code. We tap into each other's palms. It's almost like how Helen Keller used to communicate.
Mary knew Morse code.
Yeah. For laughs, she'd tap out the things that bothered her on the regulator button because she knew it would cut off after a certain point. She complained about blisters and cramps. Jane.
Jane?
Yeah. Mary told me every Sunday at some point she'd get so bored when Jane came over that she'd spell her name out with the regulator button. It's like the finger puppet. Stupid, but funny. I really miss her.
We need to get back to the lab and review those regulator records. I think we may have overlooked our best witness. So here's what's bugging me. Every time Jane comes to visit, Mary all of a sudden has this wildly unpredictable pattern of morphine dosing. And I just couldn't put my finger on what was gnawing at me. What could Mary possibly be thinking? And then it hit me. If you were to take Mary's erratic pattern and filter it through the computer as a Morse code pattern, did you see Mary's final message right before she died? J-A-Y-N. Morse code has been in use for over 160 years. It only ceased to be an international standard for maritime communication in 1999. And for some reason, I remember when the French Navy ceased using Morse code in 97. The final message transmitted was, "Calling all. This is our last cry for our eternal silence." Let's go talk to Brass.
Look, officers, this is a really terrible time for me right now. I'm sorry for lashing out at you. I realize you're just doing your job. I lied to you about one thing. If someone did this to Mary, I want to know who. I'll help you. In any way I can. Ask me whatever questions you need. I could talk about Mary all day if you wanted me to. That Pauline wasn't actually a registered nurse? Yeah, Mary knew. She didn't have a problem with it. She liked Pauline a lot. She also knew how I felt about her. I think Mary probably thought I could do better than an ex-stripper, but she was happy that I was happy. Everyone knew we were a couple, including Jane. I love Pauline, and I know she would never do anything to hurt Mary. And even if Mary had wanted Pauline to help end her life, even if Pauline had found some way to communicate with Mary about that, she would have come to me first. Whatever you think you have on Pauline, I'm telling you, you're wrong. Pauline doesn't know Morse code. How could Mary have asked her? I know you probably think I'm blinded by love or something, but Pauline couldn't have been the one who ended Mary's life. Pauline and I were home all night. We got back around 10, and then we basically crashed in our room till morning. It's not really much of an alibi, right? Nobody saw us, nobody called us, but it's the truth. I understand you have to ask me that question, but it still hurts. And the answer is still, no, I did not kill Mary.
You see, John, the problem is, absent you having an alibi we can confirm, the evidence we have right now suggests that you had both opportunity and motive in your sister's death.
What evidence?
Well, for one thing, we found a shoe impression beside your sister's bed. It was left in fresh mud. We were able to match that impression to the shoes we found in your bedroom, the ones which still had caked mud on them.
Wait a minute. Think about it. If I was really gonna kill Mary, why the hell would I track mud all over the house and leave my shoe print where you guys can find it and match it right back to me?
You ever hear the expression consciousness of guilt? It means deep down, You might have subconsciously felt guilty for doing what you did.
I didn't do what you think I did. The thing is, I have another pair of shoes just like those. I keep them on the boat. Somebody else could have used them. Somebody who wanted to make it look like I did it. Now, the weird thing is, I keep those shoes in a locked cabinet. But here's the key. Go check it out. Jane. My sister and I don't exactly get along anymore, but between the two of us, I'm the one capable of murder, not her. Jane didn't like Mary. She didn't trust her. But then after the accident, Jane tried really hard to make things right between them. No, Pauline and I were there all day. We never saw her.
Do you lock the front door?
No, we don't. I mean, I guess it's possible Jane could have come in without us seeing her. Anything's possible, right?
Same size and brand of shoe, with mud on them. Right where John told us they'd be. Okay, now the trick is to distinguish one pair of muddy shoes from the other. Good catch. That's a very fine strand of hair. Petroleum oil with a very low ash content. Looks like the type of two-stroke oil you'd use in jet skis. Good job, partner. You proved that pool of motor oil is absolutely a pool of motor oil. Appearances can be so deceiving, can't they? That's Jane Barrett's hair. You know what? That crime scene was staged. We need to talk to Brass.
What evidence do you have? The DNA evidence puts Jane Barrett right at the crime scene. I'll get your warrant.